What's up, guys? Welcome back to another reaction video. Here we are with India's Art of War. I'm very excited about this because, as we know, as we've seen from multiple videos, India has a very dated history, and they have been in many wars. But before we dive into this video, if you guys would like to support this channel by becoming a member, please don't hesitate to tap that join button down below. You'll receive exclusive benefits. But let's dive right in and see what we got.
So what is in the Arthashastra that makes it so powerful and influential?
So Sun Tzu, the art of war is like this big, right? I mean, if you boil it down, it's about this big. Arthashastra is like this big. And
size doesn't matter.
You can keep telling yourself that. That's okay. We're with you. That's fine. But
That's how you use the strategic knowledge.
I love these guys. It's how you use the strategic knowledge.
Move on. Let's move on.
We have a guest, Chris. Cleo,
Oh
please.
my God.
My mostly male audience would like my point on the record.
yes. So the title translates sort of more as the kind of art of life as a whole, and it is actually kind of comprehensive national power manual. So whereas the art of war is more kind of tactical, even this includes things like the whole thing about your enemy's enemy is your friend. That comes from the Arthashastra, but in the Arthashastra, it continues. It's like your enemy's enemy is your friend. Like there's a whole kind of Mandela of interlinked relationships that's portrayed in it. It also has things like who makes a good spy. For example, beggars or doctors or old ladies.
Ooh.
I mean, it's sort of it anticipates Miss Marple by about 2,000 years. It has an understanding of human interaction, society. It also has this quite useful line, which is a counter to the way the Chinese Communist Party looks at things, which is in Sun Tzu you have, I can't remember the exact wording, but there's something along the lines of a weak state. A strong people means a weak state. And so the goal of a strong state is to weaken the people, something along those lines.
A strong people equals a weak state. So the goal of a strong state is to weaken the people. Dang. I feel like that's America when I really think about that, because I feel like the goal of this government, the goal of the country, is to weaken the people. Because if the people were strengthened, if the people were united, if the people came together, then the government will be in trouble. Dang, hold up. I might be able to learn some things from this one.
So the goal of a strong state is to weaken the people, something along those lines. In the Arthashastra, it's a dissatisfied population is more likely to rebel or go to the enemy. So you're better off trying to maintain sort of a certain level of satisfaction within the population, right?
Just enough satisfaction. Hey, you don't gotta go over and beyond and please everybody. Keep them at just enough satisfaction where they won't rebel, where they won't go to the enemy, right? Where they won't revolt. Keep them at just. Ooh,
very different.
I gotta read this. Oh, what's this book? Arthashastra. I know I'm saying it wrong, but it's something along those lines. I got to read this.
Different approaches to the relationship between state and people. And of course, the most relevant aspect of it is it has a whole section on how to care for your war elephants. So that can never be underestimated.
And what are India's modern war elephant equivalent?
I think actually probably cyber capabilities. because that's what gets you over the mountains, right? And gets you to hit the other side in a way that can actually do some damage.
Facts.
But and they're very good at it. But they have a problem, which is that they're so good at it. Other countries keep coming and poaching their cyber experts.
Yeah.
So I was on a call, like a conference. We did an online conference about cybersecurity in India, and one of the big complaints on the Indian side was that the Israelis keep coming and poaching their cyber experts, which gives you an idea of how good they are.
Oh, I mean, I was going to say that your description of India kind of reminded me of Israel in some ways, of essentially being surrounded by enemies, and also kind of Taiwan in that, like, there's like a very large enemy surrounding them.
Yes,
well.
and
Yeah.
that's right. And there are actually many similarities, but that's something that's also is acknowledged within India, and there is quiet, but if you look for it, you'll see it. Indian engagement and concern and participation with Taiwan. There was a visit not that long ago of 3 retired branch chiefs, military chiefs from India going to Taiwan, former heads of the Navy, Air Force, and Army. You remember that the signaling in the Indo-Pacific region looks different than our signaling. That in that context, that is a very loud signal. They might be former, but they're not really going to be detached from their own systems, especially if all 3 of them are going together at once, right? So there's that sort of thing, and partially it's because there's India knows that fake map that the Chinese Communist Party keeps pushing around includes Taiwan, but it also includes parts of India. And if it does manage to get Taiwan, then what's next on the menu? What other parts of the world is it going to try to eat up?
Facts.
And it becomes, if China,
I feel like that's kind of something you got to look out when you see like countries trying to expand and say no. Well, China saying no, that's our land and that's our land too. It's like if they get this land, and they coming after this land in India, like no, this is our land. And then Taiwan, that's supposed to be Taiwan's land, but China's like no, like our map shows this is supposed to be our land, and you get those conflicts with territory and border conflicts. And then it's like when you see it's almost like countries trying to actively expand. You see Russia, in their invasion of Ukraine, and you see these things, and you just start to wonder, okay, well, like who are they coming for next? If they get that land, then what's next on the menu? Because I don't think they're going to be satisfied with stopping there. At some point, they're going to want more, and so I feel like you have to be very wary and very aware of these situations, and I feel like India definitely is. I think India is 100% aware because they've been strengthening their military. Their economy's going up. Everything's good. They have strategies if China decides to do anything. And then Taiwan, I guess she said in a kind of a way, they're silently, right, they sent 3, or I don't know if they sent, but 3 retired chiefs from India went over to Taiwan, and I'm sure talked to them. And so you have these situations. But yeah, and then to kind of go back a little bit further and talk about Indian cyber abilities, I feel like yes, I think she's completely correct. I didn't know that Israel was out here trying to poach India's cyber experts, and hey, y'all come over to Israel, y'all. But I know that they're some of the greatest in the world, and I feel like they are being poached, like not just by Israel, but they're being poached around the world because of how great they are. But let's continue.
Eat up, and it becomes, if China invades and eats Taiwan, that's a huge problem, obviously, for the U.S. and U.S. credibility and ability to operate in the Indo-Pacific. It's a huge problem for Japan, for the Philippines, but the U.S. would probably be tied up in that part of the Pacific, and India might be on its own in dealing with a similar push along the border with China, or the border with Tibet, as they like to increasingly call it now. So they're not we might think, you think, oh, they're really far apart. India is really far from the Pacific theater, is far from Taiwan, but Taiwan is, a maritime border state with China, and India is a border state with China. So China, is what links those two together geographically, also in terms of risk, in terms of expansion, in terms of threat, all that sort of stuff. And the Indian strategic community is very aware of that.
Very
So
aware.
how likely do you think a kinetic war between China and India would be?
It's always this question of, what do you mean? Because there has been kinetic war. They did it in 1962. They tried to do it in Galwan. They're pushing consistently on the border. Is it 20 deaths? Is it 200 deaths? Is it 2,000 deaths? What do you mean when you talk about a kinetic war? Is it using Maoist proxies, which they're doing within India, who are killing people? Is it using jihadist proxies within India to kill people? There's China operates along this warfare continuum, which has political warfare to kinetic, but to my mind, where it is along the continuum is largely a subset of what it thinks is going to work, with the lowest blowback to China. So there's no moral or legal constraints, I think, on the assessments of when to shift from one to the other from the Chinese side. And they are willing to kill people to achieve goals. I mean, India had a very odd, localized breakout of a specific subset of COVID, and the Chinese would not give the sort of medical support equipment that others were trying to buy for India, but were coming from China, would have to come from China. And China was restricting the export of those life-saving materials.
Wow.
That resulted in deaths, apart from everything else related to the virus itself.
That's
so
crazy.
Do you want to call that kinetic warfare, when if they had if they had dropped a biological weapon in Mumbai, would you call that kinetic warfare?
So the question is, when he talks about a kinetic war between the two countries, the question she's asking is like, what exactly would you consider to be kinetic war? Like them using these proxies to kill in India? Because I think she said they were doing that in one or two of the cases. Would you consider it like withholding a vaccine that could help cure people, but they did, in which they did, and allow people to die? Would you consider that kinetic warfare? Them dropping a biological weapon in Mumbai, would you consider that kinetic warfare? So I feel like I'd have the same question in the sense of, what exactly would a kinetic war look like? I'm not sure. Kinetic, that word kind of confuses me a little bit. So if you guys could drop in the comment section and talk to me what that, I guess, technically means, like kinetic warfare. Actually, I'm just gonna Google it and see what Google tells me, because I feel like I'd gain more of an understanding on what they're talking about if I knew. So this is what Google AI is saying. Kinetic warfare. Kinetic war is a term that refers to traditional warfare that uses physical force, such as missiles and other weapons, to engage and destroy enemy assets. So that, to me, means like a war, like warfare. I don't know. Let's continue.
In Mumbai, would you call that kinetic warfare? If they allow you to die of a Chinese origin virus in Mumbai by withholding treatment, is that kinetic warfare?
That's crazy.
So China benefits from us having this very binary view of what's kinetic and what's not. And, I would argue the death of 70, 80,000 Americans a year from fentanyl is kinetic warfare.
Jesus.
Right. But
70 to
I'm
80,000.
potentially in a minority on that one. But I think probably a lot of those families would agree.
Probably.
Very well said.
So great. We're already completely at war with China. We just don't know it.
That's what it sounds
Yeah,
like.
I think probably every 2 out of 3 of your guests says it.
And we say it too.
It's what else do you want? I mean, if you walk around again, this is something Grant Newsham has in his book, right? He starts off with a scene in Baltimore where Baltimore looks like it's been hit by an attack. It's you've got zombified people walking the street, devastated industries, industrial sectors. You've got paramedics who are basically war paramedics. They're dealing with dying people, people who are being killed by chemical warfare on a daily basis. This entropic domestic warfare is evident, and in fact, it's one of the reasons why, and this isn't to get political, it's just kind of an observation, that J.D. Vance did so well as a politician because Hillbilly Elegy talks about both the effect of opioid addiction on individuals and the deindustrialization of the U.S., both of which are caused by China, and both of which he says are caused by China. So you can see the average American, if you talk to them about what's going on in their communities, will tell you that many of them, not all of them, but the ones that that voted J.D. Vance into office, in Ohio, for example, will tell you that they're on the receiving end of effectively warfare from the Chinese Communist Party, enabled with proxies in the U.S. enabling that attack.
Sometimes even within our own government and media.
Sometimes.
You're Canadian, so you can talk about these things.
Oh, could I ever? But that, I think, is a whole other show.
That was wild to actually hear, because I didn't know, like, is the fentanyl coming from China into America, or are they just is China using proxies, I guess, to help spread fentanyl as well as other drugs in America? Is that what they're saying? And they believe that, so there's beliefs that America and China are already at war, which very so may be the case. I need to look into more videos about that to determine, but it seems like it. It seems like America and China have kind of had that tension where really nobody's made a move, it seems like, on the surface, but they could be making secret moves, could be happening that we just don't know about, that we couldn't link to one of the other country, to one country or the other. I'm not sure about, but in this one we got to hear kind of about I can't remember the name of the book, but where is The Art of War by, is it Sun Tzu who writes that? Is this big? Any of the book is this big, and it kind of has, in some cases, it's different than The Art of War, and it's different than some of the tactical things that are in there. But in other cases, it kind of said things that are in that book in a different way, but they said it long before. So it's very interesting to watch this video and I guess kind of learn from it. Let me know what you guys got from this video down in the comment section. If you guys enjoyed that, please don't forget to subscribe, give the video a thumbs up, check out the next one. It's your boy D-Neil, out.